Razor for some parent and special ed teachers. Oh, the email. So it came out, and then Sue, Dr. Sharp, for the Elizabeth, other people, and in an attachment was a list. You don't. It's not too bad. It's not like so. It's then it's up to you. And Jordan, she's like, so it's great. There's two other people were listed. I said, you maybe you didn't really whatever. Yes. So I had to run it back, then had to run her. Yeah. It was just me and Elizabeth. Run here. Tell them, but I have all. Of course, yeah.
Not too loud.
Yeah, a little bit. Just a little bit.
Tone it down, Rudolph. All right. Good evening. With a quorum present, I call the Francis Howell School Board meeting to order. With us tonight is the Francis Howell Vikings. I'm going to ask them to stand up and lead us in their pledge of allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Burley, approve the agenda as submitted.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mr. Lang, second by Mr. Summer. Any discussion? Hearing none, by roll call.
Ms. Ferguson?
Aye.
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 Motion carries 6-0. Recognitions, Mr. Dykeman.
Thank you, Mr. Lovato. Thank you, Vikings. HOW. The St. Louis Post-Dispatch annually names a high school program of the year, choosing an area school that best exemplifies excellence in their athletic programs. For the 2015-16 school year, that program is Francis Howell High School. The Vikings won state championships in baseball and boys soccer and had Final Four finishes in wrestling and girls basketball. They can also boast of more than 300 players named to their respective all-conference teams, 9 district championships, and 11 conference championships. The Howell athletics machine is fueled by support from the entire community, from students, parents, faculty, and the school's administration. And it's becoming something of a school tradition. The Vikings also won the award during the 2012-2013 school year, and they were finalists last year. We have some of those great student athletes here tonight, along with their coaches, and I'm going to ask them to come up here and introduce themselves, because all of our student athletes need practice in public speaking. So come on up, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody come on up. We have, of course, Principal Dave Wetlock and Activities Director Sean Irwin is here as well. So you don't get the microphone, but you can, right where you are, you can tell me.
I'm Dylan Marceau, played golf.
Golf?
Yep.
Thank you.
Jen Beckman, head softball coach.
Softball? You don't have to shake my hand, just tell us.
Sean Wheeler, Scholar Bowl coach.
Scholar Bowl?
Kevin Stroh, head wrestling coach.
Carl Wayne, boys golf.
Dylan DePerda, wrestling.
My name is Gannon Evans and I play Scholar Bowl.
Megan Terzig, softball.
Tiani Taylor, basketball.
Kennedy Cordia, volleyball. Emma Witter, volleyball.
Michael Enright, boys soccer. Katie Costello, boys soccer. Kyle Graham, baseball.
Morgan Harrington, head girls basketball. Tracy Carlson, head boys tennis coach.
Dawson Kine, boys tennis.
Cameron Lashley, girls tennis. Sarah Orline, head girls tennis.
All right, come on up here, everybody. Gotta get a group shot. Everybody squeeze on in.
Yeah.
I never.
We're hoping to get them all here at the podium. If we can get a back row, if we can get a couple rows.
Okay, I'm short. I feel like they're gonna be like.
So line up alphabetically by height.
All right.
I was living his dreams of being in the back right now. He's like, I'm gonna stay for as long as I can.
if we could get Dave and Sean front and center. One over there.
Okay, I guys need you guys to like angle in so you overlap. Jeremy Butler, look away. One more.
Any parents need pictures? Come on up.
It said for you, not, it didn't say for taking pictures.
Congratulations to the Vikings. Plug it back in so they can hear me on the tape. And we're not done. Vikings, wait a second. You might want to hear this. We're going to say nice things about Coach Perkins. Last month, Francis Howell High baseball coach Tony Perkins was named the High School Division I National Coach of the Year by the American Baseball Coaches Association. The recognition is given annually to the top coaches on the high school and collegiate level. The past season, Coach Perkins guided Howell to a 29-11 record and the Class 5 state championship, the fourth state championship for the Vikings, all under the leadership of Coach Perkins. The coach also collected his 500th and 501st career wins in the two state tournament games. Overall, Coach Perkins owns a 501 and 216 record in 25 years of coaching. He guided the Vikings to state championships in 2003, 2011, and 2013. In addition to this honor, Perkins is also a member of the 2016 Hall of Fame class of the National High School Baseball Coaches Association. Ladies and gentlemen, Coach Tony Perkins. Congratulations. Hold on, we're going to get a board. You want to come down? Yep.
Thank you. Thank you, Howell. Vikings, good luck. Bring home some more championships this year. Just don't beat the Spartans.
Hey.
Had to get that one in there. All right, there's no patron comment report to approve. So our next agenda item would be patron comments, and we have one. And that is Janet Dowell. During patron comments, patrons are invited to address the Board of Education. Just go ahead and speak there at the podium. Please adhere to the 3-minute time limit. The board is interested in the public's concerns and opinions, but we do not answer patrons' questions during the meeting. Questions and concerns will be addressed by Dr. Let me get Sloan off here. Mary Hendricks Harris. Please remember that individual comments about individual students and staff are not allowed due to confidentiality. These concerns need to be brought to the administration's attention and may be brought to the Board of Education in closed session. Mrs. Dowell.
My name is Janet Dahl, and I'm the parent of 3 children who are students in Francis Howell. My concern tonight is with my son Luke, who is 13 and in the 8th grade at Sager Middle School. He has autism and is nonverbal, and there was nobody at home to babysit. He receives most of his academics in the essential skills classroom. My concern is twofold. First is the amount of time he spends cleaning the school building. He cleans, he collects the recycling, he cleans the library, he cleans the teacher's lounge, and so on. No other students in that school do that. He knows how to clean the library, but in the 2 years that he's been there, he has never been taught how to use and enjoy the library. The second aspect is similar. It is called career-based instruction, which used to be referred to as community-based instruction. It has changed from taking trips to learn how to access the community to trips to learn career skills that amount to cleaning the community. He has gone to a bowling alley and cleaned bowling balls and picked up shoes. They stock cans at the grocery store. Most middle school kids have absolutely no idea what kind of a career they want to do. So we're having our essential skills kids who will can make big development leaps say what they need to do as a career. I don't know that he's going to want to clean as a career, but yet instead of doing other academics, we are cleaning instead. Shouldn't we know how to use the community, how to go bowling, how to use the library, instead of learning how to clean the library? There's plenty of time for career skills once we get in our upper grades at high school, but not 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. Thank you. I'm sorry for his attitude.
That's okay. Thank you, Mrs. Dowell. FHEA? FESPA? SAA, no. Board will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Ms. Ferguson, second by Mr. Lang. Any discussion, board? Hearing none, by roll call.
Mr. Lang?
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Next item on the agenda is purchases over 7,500. Board will entertain a motion to approve the purchase over 7,500 as presented.
Mr. LaFont, I think we have the MSBA report.
I'm out of line. I'm out of order here. Hang on. Hang on. Oh, I skipped one there.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Missouri School Boards Association's board report for the month of August. We thank you for the opportunity to share some news and information during a few minutes of your board meeting. We begin with a look at the issue of family engagement and why it's so essential to enhancing student performance and improving our schools. Senior Vice President for Scholastic Education, Ron Meir, addressed the topic at the recent MSBA Leadership Summit. And he says the key to effective family engagement is linking homeschool relationships to student learning. He adds, teachers need much more training than they receive on how to engage families effectively.
Every event should be linked to learning. Shouldn't be solely about the rules
or what kids are supposed to do or haven't done, but it should always be about helping parents answer that question. What should your child know and be able to do by the end of the year? What do they know, and how can you help?
You can learn more about family engagement from the nation's leading expert on the topic, Dr. Karen Mapp of the Harvard Graduate School of Education, who will be the featured speaker during the first general session of the 2016 MSBA Annual Conference on September 30th. Dr. Mapp has worked with Scholastic to create a series of workshops on family-school partnerships. By the way, registration is now open for the annual conference to be held September 29th through October 2nd at the Lake of the Ozarks. The event features more than 130 concurrent sessions. Most are presented by MSBA member school districts. One new event this year is a membership reception scheduled for 4:30 p.m. on Friday, September 30th in the exhibit hall. This event will allow school board members and superintendents to meet informally with others from their regions at specific locations in the exhibit hall. This event takes the place of MSBA's fall regional meetings that have been held throughout the state in the weeks following the annual conference. Also, be sure your school board is represented at the MSBA Fall Delegate Assembly to be held on Friday, September 30th during the annual conference. This delegate assembly will be voting on the proposed legislative resolutions that will form the basis of MSBA's advocacy efforts during the 2017 session of the Missouri General Assembly. Delegates do not have to be registered for the annual conference in order to participate in the delegate assembly, and if your board's designated delegate cannot attend, you can send another board member to represent your board at this important meeting. Meanwhile, the MSBA Advocacy Committee and Executive Committee are beginning work to combine MSBA's 3 advocacy documents into a single document that states MSBA's positions on issues related to public education in our state. The 3 current documents are legislative resolutions, platform statements, and the Missouri Public Education Vision Project document. A recommendation for combining those documents is likely to be proposed to the 2017 Fall Delegate Assembly. Most districts in the state begin a new school year this month, and that means thousands of students will be riding school buses to and from school every day. Providing those students with a safe and secure environment on those buses is essential. Yet behavior can be an issue on school buses. Gary Moore, safety coordinator with MSBA's Center for Education Safety, says schools must deal with student behavior on school buses one way or another.
You'll deal with it on the front end, which is positive through education and training, or you deal with it on the back end, which is negative through disciplinary referrals. And I think everybody can understand the education field. The smart thing is to do, get on the front end, and take care of this before it happens.
Moore adds, student anxiety on the school bus can have an impact on learning.
If that child, the last hour of the day, if he's worried about getting back on that bus, that's going to take away from his or her learning. So it's important that these kids have a safe environment and feel good about that bus, and that's what these 2 programs are trying to do, make everything safer for that child on the bus.
Moore says the 2 programs most commonly used by Missouri school districts are the Peaceful School Bus and Positive Behavior Intervention and Supports programs. For more information on school bus safety and other school safety issues, contact MSBA's Center for Education Safety. By the way, the 10th Annual Safe Schools and Colleges Conference, sponsored by the CES, is set for September 27th through the 29th at the Lake of the Ozarks, just prior to the annual conference. Session topics will include behavioral risk assessments, cybersecurity, radicalization, school safety legal updates, and best practices for school design. The opening session of the conference features internationally recognized human aggression and violent crime expert, Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman. Registration information is available on the CES website at moces.org. That's it for this month's edition of the MSBA Board Report. Thanks for allowing us to have some time at your board meeting, and so long from Columbia.
Renee Cope was a star there. She was in taking a seat in a breakout session, it looks like. Okay, next item on the agenda is Mr. Vanderpool is going to present to us best practice on sanctuary. Thought you were going to get out of it.
No, I tried. Good evening, Mr. LaFata, Dr. Hendricks-Harris, members of the Board of Education and Executive Cabinet. I'm excited to be here tonight to introduce our new sanctuary model and the supports we're offering our students and staff. The sanctuary model is designed as a system-wide approach to how we help our students and staff managing the effects of trauma in their lives. We are currently in the second year of implementation, and we hope to be certified in the spring of 2018. The model is being implemented at Heritage Landing and our self-contained program at Fairmont, along with 8 of our schools in our special education classrooms, and growing. Dr. Hahn has led out the district implementation of this model and supports the students and staff daily. Through his leadership, we have begun to transition Heritage Landing into a more therapeutic setting, supporting student emotional health and their transition into adult life. I'm excited and proud to introduce Dr. Hahn, and he's going to provide us a little more information about the sanctuary model and the rituals and the customs they use every day. Dr. Hahn.
Thank you, Dr. Vanderpool. Thank you for letting me speak today. Is there a PowerPoint to go? Okay. Well, we'll move forward anyway. So I'll take a few minutes and just share a little bit about the sanctuary model. As Dr. Vanderpool mentioned, this is our second year of implementation. And what it is really, it's an organizational culture approach to how best to support kids that have dealt with trauma. And so we're not talking something that we're just going to use with students. It's for the whole school, the staff, the parents, colleagues, students alike. And so what do we want in our schools? We want a safe place for our kids to come so that they're available learners. They need to be able to come to school, feel safe enough to come, and then know that we're going to keep them safe while they're at school so that they can learn. We also need to provide an environment for our staff so that they're going to feel supported and safe so that they can be the best that they can to provide that education. So one example that they give us is switching the lens a little bit in a mindset. So if you think, oftentimes you see a student behaving a certain way and you might say, I wonder what's wrong with him. I wonder what's wrong with him. And so it challenges you to, instead of saying what's wrong with him, ask what has happened to him. So you're taking the blame, you're taking the guilt. It's not something that a student necessarily asked for, something that's happened to him. And so how can we look through that different lens and how better to support the students that have gone through different traumatic events in their life? So tonight, I'm going to focus on one little piece of it. We went through a 5-day training. I have 5 minutes, so I'll do the best I can. So the pillars right there that are going up and down, there are 4 of them. If you go up and down, you'll be able to read them. On the far right, it says Sanctuary Toolkit. And so the one I'm going to focus on tonight is one tool from that toolkit. So out of all the training, I'm going to focus on this one little piece. And so that is community meetings. And what that means is that anytime that a group of people get together, for example, at Heritage, all the staff get together in the morning before the students arrive. We stand in a circle. We ask each other 3 specific questions. The students and staff do it together as a group each day. And those 3 questions have specific purposes. And so they are, how are you feeling today? Oftentimes kids that have dealt with trauma or severe adversity have a hard time being able to identify their feelings. You know, I'm mad, I'm sad, I'm frustrated. I don't know how I feel. I just know it's not good. And so a lot of teaching goes into being able to identify what those feelings are and helping them to understand that they're not alone, that other people feel that way as well. The second one is, what is your goal for today? So again, people that have gone through traumatic experiences oftentimes get stuck in that rut. You get into a depression, that type of thing. You want to offer an opportunity for them to look forward, to think about the future instead of being stuck where you're at. So you want to think, what's your goal for today, to look beyond right now? And then the third question is, who can you ask for help? That's not about who can you ask for help for that specific goal. That's right now you're happy and everything's great. But in 2 hours you get frustrated, you get annoyed, something like that. Who is it that you can ask in this group to help and support you get through that time? So we want to broaden that sense of support, broaden that sense of community, because oftentimes, again, people that have been traumatized feel isolated. They're alone. They don't have anybody to go to. And so we want to broaden that for them. The next slide has just a few pictures of community meetings that you can see. One is the students and staff of the high school, one is students and staff of the middle school, and then the third one actually has a few visitors we had come to the school, and we invite them to participate as well, because we also want to model to our students about what's it like to invite someone else into a community. You know, if you're the new person, you want someone to invite you in. So we model how that would work and reciprocate that understanding for them. And then I was going to ask, we have some people here from the different schools that have been trained. I was going to ask them to come up and just model some of a community meeting for you. It's kind of odd and awkward at first, I'll be honest with you, when you start talking about feelings with people, and but it really kind of gives you a sense of where you're at. So if you do this with your students, you have an understanding of, are they ready to learn today, or do we have a lot of people that are dysregulated? And it kind of gives you a good read on how to get going. So basically, you would stand in a circle like this. It doesn't matter who starts, but if I look this way, I would say, how are you feeling?
Excited.
What's your goal for this meeting?
To present to the Board of Education our structure.
And who will you ask for help?
My team right here.
Help you.
How are you feeling this evening?
Excited and grateful
What's your goal?
to help present to the board as well as you.
And who can help you with that?
You can help me and the rest of the team.
We will help you.
Thank you.
Hi.
How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling hopeful.
What's your goal for the meeting?
My goal is to help educate everyone here about sanctuary.
Anything you ask for help today?
I will ask you for help and Dr. Hahn.
Help. We'll help you.
Hi Sue, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling optimistic.
And what is your goal for our time together?
My goal is to hopefully pass on some of my excitement for sanctuary to the people here.
Great. And who can you ask for help?
I will ask you for help, and I'm going to ask Rachel for help.
You got it. I will listen.
Hello, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling optimistic also.
And what is your goal for the meeting?
My goal is to portray my enthusiasm and support for Sanctuary.
And who will you ask for help?
I will ask Jacqueline and Dawn.
Hello, hello, how are you feeling?
Positive or whatever.
And what is your goal for our time?
To help spread the Sanctuary model throughout school and educate others in our district.
Okay. Who will you ask for help?
I'm going to help you guys. How are you feeling today?
I'm nervous but excited.
And what is your goal for this meeting?
To show the validity in sanctuary for all staff.
All staff members. Who can you ask for help?
How are you feeling?
Proud and annoyed. I'm not supposed to laugh, people.
What is your goal for our time?
To hopefully express my excitement and belief in sanctuary as a whole.
Tony, do you need to check in later on?
If I was really annoyed, I would say yes.
Okay.
But no. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
I want. So in this example, we're all happy and we're all yay, yay, yay. But at times, once you get comfortable with the group, there are times when you're going to say, I'm frustrated, I'm overwhelmed, I'm annoyed, whatever. And so in that venue is not the time that we want to, oh, what's wrong in front of that big group. But what we want to do is provide that support with one another. Would you like me to check in with you later? And they may say no, and that's fine, but yeah, that would be great. And then that builds that community and that relationship that I'm here to support you today. But also, if I need it, you're going to support me in return. So it's offering that help and building that community for each other. And then a couple more things. FHSD, I feel oftentimes, it's one of those things that makes you proud to work here, but we're ahead of the curve with a lot of things. And this is another example of where we are ahead of the curve. And so an update to this slide, actually, where it says that Missouri is currently looking at passing new legislation. It got passed, and it's Senate Bill 638, I believe, that is going to require districts to provide trauma-informed practices instruction for staff within the school districts. And so that's something we already have been doing and we have in place, and I look forward to what it can do for more kids and staff in the future. And then I think Dr. Vanderpool mentioned the schools that have been gone through the training already. And then finally, I just wanted to end and share just a few of the successes that we've seen in the short time that we've been doing it. A couple little ones. I have a young man that, needless to say, did not enjoy coming to school. Oftentimes did not come to school when he was quite a challenge. About 6 months into implementation, his mom came to school one day and shared with me that, don't tell student that I said this, but we were running late the other morning. He's like, Mom, come on, hurry up. I don't want to miss community meeting. And so here's a student that hated school, didn't want to be at school, has just that one little piece has turned it around where he feels like he belongs now. Had another student, went to Nurse Stiglich last year, wasn't feeling well, had a temperature. Sorry, you're going to have to go home. Well, can I at least go do community meeting first? So again, it's like, wow, he feels like he's important. He feels connected. Had a young man, he's been with us for over 3 years now, but at about 2.5 years, through building this relationship and rapport with the students and staff in the community, he opens up and he started sharing about how his dad had died when he was younger. None of the staff even knew there was a father figure ever in the kid's life, and he was never at a place where he could even share that. And so it was so neat to see that just after a few months of implementation, the culture that had been created by what we have done through Sanctuary offered him that opportunity. And then the last thing I wanted to share with you are a few comments that one of the staff that went through the training this past May, she had sent me an email, and she said if I ever had the opportunity to share this with the board, I could. So here you go. So I was a very quiet, well-behaved student in school. I got good grades and never had any discipline issues. However, I came from a very dysfunctional family. My mom was very emotionally abusive to me. She probably experienced the same type of childhood with her mom, and I was able to forgive her and heal our relationship, but it was only in the last few years that I was able to receive counseling. Everything I learned through counseling to help me deal with the scars of the emotional abuse was covered during the Sanctuary training. I could have saved a lot of money, laugh out loud. A district-wide program, not only would it help those students that exhibit outward signs of trauma, it would also help the students who are like me, those well-behaved students who just fade into the background but are keeping some pretty sad secrets. It would let them know that they are okay and they're not alone. It's a very sad place for a kid to be. And so that's, just in the 1 year of implementation, in just a few minutes I'm able to share a lot of very powerful, in my mind, successes. So that concludes what I have. I want to thank you for letting me present, but also more importantly, thank you for supporting Sanctuary Model. So
thank you, Dr. Hunt. Stay there for a few questions. First, I got to get to the board real quick. How you feeling today, Ms. Cope? I think that's a wonderful practice. Curious how the kids respond the very first time you get in the circle. What is it?
It's not pretty.
It's not pretty. It's like pulling teeth.
Honestly, what we did is we spent months teaching feelings during social skills and what it looks like to be happy, what it feels like to be happy, what it feels like to be angry, what it looks like to be angry. And so if I walk around and I'm mopey, but you ask me how I'm feeling and I say happy, well, that doesn't really match your body language. So we spent months and months just working on identifying feelings, and then we modeled as staff what a community meeting would look like. And so very slowly we work into it, and now it is our culture. It's what we do. And so now it's just you come in, the bell rings, we do community meeting. It's what we do.
That's outstanding. And so it gets the gate. They started, provides goals for the kids, and lets everyone know how you're feeling.
Yep.
If you're in a bad mood, you're in a bad mood.
And I'll be honest, so I'll share one more. You're asking questions, so I can take more than 5 minutes, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So this was awesome. So the first time we got the staff in the morning, we did a community meeting, that I said something negative. You know, again, usually I'm pretty happy, I'm pretty positive, and the first time I don't even know what word I used, but I said frustrated, annoyed, over. I don't know what I said, but it was a negative, and the whole, like, the staff was, it was like a downer. Well, then, like, an hour later, all of a sudden, I've got a card in my office, and I have some Mountain Dew. I drink Mountain Dew, and then I've got this. Like, my staff didn't know how to handle, like, I'm overwhelmed. Well, Tony can't be overwhelmed, and so it was just a learning moment for all of us that it's okay for me to feel that way too, and to be able to express that openly. And so that, I don't know, I just laughed because it was like they didn't know how to handle that, and so it's a learning opportunity for all of us.
Absolutely. Board, any other questions? Ms. Ferguson?
Yeah, having experience firsthand with this, with the school, just the positive influence it has on both the students and the staff. It's amazing how you take a child who can't express and then feel safe enough to express. It changes your outlook as an adult of that child. It changes your whole perspective of where they're coming from and how can we help them, and vice versa when the kids are helping the staff be able to cope with different things. It's an amazing program, and I'm so happy to see it.
Thank you. We are too.
Thank you so much.
Nope.
Ms. Cope?
Please. So I think the first time I came out to visit Heritage, you guys were just talking about the sanctuary model. And so did you use it all of last year?
Yes, we were trained in the July before last year. But as a staff, as I mentioned, this is a culture, this is an organization. So it's not just what we do with students. So there were a lot of things as adults and staff that we did to build our capacity before we ended up rolling everything out to students. So we did community meetings as a staff every morning for the first semester before we even introduced it to students, because we needed to practice how to do it. And what happens when somebody says they're frustrated? What happens when they say they're annoyed and you're not supposed to laugh out loud at them? And, and how do you offer those supports and that type of thing? And then we spent that time also front-loading the social skills lessons with feelings so that kids are able to identify them. And a lot of time was spent on goal setting individually, so that way when we came together as a group, they're able to express.
To prepare them to actively participate. So do you think you've been using the whole program for about a semester?
I would say second semester last year we were going gangbusters, yeah.
Okay. And what do you think the biggest area, or maybe there's more than one, that you're seeing some success in? Is it the safety of the students and the staff? Is it the daily accomplishments? Is it the emotional culture?
I would say probably the emotional culture. That'd be my opinion. I don't know if they have something else, but just like I said, the willingness for students that haven't felt safe at school for years and years sometimes to be able to open up and say, I need help with this. But then also, when another student is able to ask them for help, then that makes them feel very powerful and very important as well. So it's building that sense of community. The first few times when I saw kids asking other kids for support and help, where 3 months prior they were telling each other things that weren't so supportive, so that was pretty powerful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hahn. Good luck in your program, and
thank you.
Good luck in the sanctuary model. Glad that Francis Howell's out in front of this issue, even though it's just now been passed, so thank you.
In addition, I'd like to thank Dr. Vanderpool and Dr. Hahn for their leadership in this much-needed area.
Thank you. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is preliminary data. Ms. Whitesell.
Ms. Freen's going to pull up the PowerPoint. So tonight I am presenting preliminary data to the Board of Education. And before presenting any data, I just wanted to put the mission and vision of our district up here, because it certainly drives our work. It's the core of our work, so it's always important just to remember what is essential to our work. And I also wanted to share the timeline that DESE has shared with us for releasing MAP data and the annual performance report to school districts. So given the timeline that you see up here, the APRs will be available to the public not until November 7th. So since we haven't received any of our MAP data yet, we're not presenting MAP data this evening. We're going to present other end of the year data. And the academic workshop that normally happens in September won't happen until the November board meeting as a result of the delay in getting all of the necessary data. I also wanted to share the DESE assessment implementation schedule. You may recall at the end of last school year, DESE announced the revised Missouri Learning Standards. So our district, we're making those curriculum adjustments during this school year with the curriculum writing teams, but the tests that the students will take in ELA and math won't change until the 17-18 school year. And then science changes the following year after that, and then social studies. So we will start this evening with a variety of slides on advanced placement data, starting with enrollment. In addition to the 4-year historical data, we included the current AP enrollment for the high schools. Certainly, we would like to continue to see trends of increasing in AP enrollments, including the number of students taking one AP course and the number of students taking more than one AP course. And so if you look at there's 3 vertical columns there on this bar graph. And so the first one on the left is the students taking one AP course. The second one is students taking more than one AP course. And the last one are all of the AP course enrollments. You might wonder, why do those two numbers not add up? So for our current enrollments, 714 and 729 do not add up to the 2,713. That's because we have a number of students who actually take more than 2 AP courses. So that last data point is all of the AP course enrollments together. For this school year, you can obviously see we've had some large increases. All 3 high schools have increased their AP course enrollment. But additionally, Francis Howell Central implemented a pilot program during last school year to increase the number of students taking AP courses, including students taking an AP course for the very first time. The efforts of the pilot have contributed to the large growth in the AP course enrollment overall, and the AP pilot program at Francis Howell Central will be highlighted as a best practice at next month's board meeting. So I thought it was appropriate to mention that here this evening. So in addition to our AP course enrollments, we want to look at our AP exam data. The trend shows increases in the number of students taking AP exams and the number of total exams taken. Not all students enrolled in AP courses elect to take the AP exam. We will continue certainly to encourage students enrolled in AP classes to complete the final challenge of the course by taking the AP exam in the spring. Increasing AP exam participation is a focus area of the high school school improvement plans. This is our third set of AP data points. So in this slide, we want to examine the percentage of students and exams scoring a 3 or higher. And just to give you a little bit of background, advanced placement or AP scores range from 1 to 5. An AP score tells us how well a student did on the AP exam, and it is also a measurement of achievement in a college level course. Scoring a 3 or higher means that a student has proven him or herself capable of doing the work in an introductory college level course in a particular subject at college. Many colleges and universities grant credit and placement for scores of 3, 4, or 5. However, each college decides which score it will accept. As you can see from the data, we've had a 1% increase in the students scoring a 3 or higher on the AP exam, yet we had a slight decrease in the overall percentage of AP exams scoring a 3 or higher. There are differences in the students scoring 3 or higher and the overall percentage of exams with a 3 or higher because some students do take more than one AP exam. That means that a student who takes more than one AP exam may not always score a 3 or higher in all of his or her exams taken. We had a less than 1% decrease in the overall percentage of AP exams scoring 3 or higher. Increasing AP scores is also a focus area of the high school improvement plans. Each high school will implement action steps for improvement in this area based on their individual school's data. Keep in mind that as we increase AP exam participation, we may initially see a trend of a decrease in AP exam scores. Sometimes that does happen in districts. The next piece of data is junior ACT data, and this is the first time that we've been able to look at our junior ACT data, because this is the second year in the state of Missouri that the ACT has given to juniors, and so we are able to then get a comparison report from 2015 to 2016. So if you notice here, there was no change in the overall composite score of the juniors, and there were slight increases in the area of reading and science. The red lines that you see on the four columns to the right are the college readiness benchmark set by ACT. A college readiness benchmark is this minimum score needed on the ACT subject area test to indicate a 50% chance of attaining a B or higher, or about a 75% chance of scoring a C or higher in the corresponding college credit-bearing courses, which include English composition, algebra, social sciences, and biology. So in addition to looking at just Francis Howell's data, we also want to look at our data compared to the rest of the juniors in the state of Missouri. So there is not a national average based on just junior ACT scores, like there is for the graduate data, but we can certainly compare how well did Francis Howell do versus the juniors in Missouri. And as you can see, that our juniors' average composite score was 2 points higher than the juniors in the state of Missouri, and Francis Howell juniors scored 2 points higher in each of the subject area tests than Missouri juniors. And I just want to note that scoring 2 points higher is statistically significant, which means that the relationship between our junior scores and the state of Missouri's junior scores is caused by something other than just random chance. The next set of data is the district reading at or above grade level. So our elementary and middle school students take the Gates reading test annually. We use the Gates test to find out the grade level equivalency for our students in reading. As you can see from the data, there had been steady increases in the percentage of students reading on grade level. However, for last school year, we were flat. There was not a decrease or an increase. Here's the same Gates data, but it's just for the elementary levels that were tested. As you can see, all three grade levels decreased from 2015 to 2016 in the number of students, or the percentages of students reading at or above grade level. However, if you look at the cohort data in the data chart at the bottom of the slide, and so the cohort data would look at in one school year, third grade, and then how does the group of students grow as they move on to fourth grade and then move on to fifth grade. So if you look at the cohort data at the bottom of the slide, there was a 4.9% increase of students reading at or above grade level from third to fourth grade last year, and those are the pink boxes. There was a slight decrease from fourth to fifth grade last year, the purple boxes. In order to look at the fifth to sixth cohort data from 2015-16, we're going to look at the gray box, but this corresponding gray box is going to be on the next slide. So based on this data, we know that we need to continue to implement a strong reading core and focus on reading interventions at the elementary level. Oops. So the same data here for Gates, but now we're looking at just the middle school grades tested. As you can see, there was a slight decrease from 2015 to 16 in sixth grade, but at least a 2% increase from 2015 to 16 in both 7th and 8th grade. For the cohort data, there was a decrease from 5th grade in 2015, which was the box on the previous slide, which was 80.3, to 6th grade last year, which is the gray box here on this slide. There were increases in students reading at or above grade level for 6th grade in 15 to 7th grade last year, the pink boxes, which was an 8.7% increase. And 7th grade in 2015 to 8th grade last year, the purple boxes, which was a 2.8% increase. With MSIP 5, districts had to change the way they looked at attendance rates. DESE's expectation is to have at least 90% of our students attending 90% of the time. As you can see from our data, our students exceed that expectation on average. There was a slight decrease in the district's there was a slight increase in the district's 90-90 rate from 2015 to 2016 based on our internal calculations. Again, we haven't received the APR data from DESE, but again, from our calculations, we do note a slight increase. We had similar trends at the elementary and high school levels with slight increases in their 90-90 rates. The middle school level had a very slight decrease in their 90-90 rate last year. With attendance, we also want to look at our 10+ absences. Chronic absenteeism can impact the 90-90 attendance. Therefore, it's important for schools to decrease the number of students with 10 or more absences. As you can see from the data shown, the percentage of students with 10+ absences decreased for all 3 school levels during the 15-16 school year from the previous school year. Our goal was to decrease behaviors leading to in-school suspension by 3% and out-of-school suspension by 5%. As you can see from the data, there were increases in both in-school and out-of-school suspension last school year. Certainly the decrease of both of those consequences will continue to be an area of focus for the CSIP and for the individual building school improvement plans. As you may recall from the June board meeting, when the behavior data was presented, there was a decrease in in-school suspension and out-of-school suspension at the elementary level, but increases in in-school and out-of-school suspension consequences at the middle and high school levels last year. This slide shows our 4-year graduation rate. And again, I will note that this is our internally calculated data. We will have our official data when we receive our APR. And as you can see, our graduation rate for last school year, what we've calculated is a 4-year rate, 96.1, which was an increase of 1.1% from last year. So with all of that data presented this evening, we have shown growth in the following areas. These are areas that certainly are strengths and were celebrations: AP enrollment, AP exam participation, 7th and 8th grade reading, attendance, and graduation. Based on the data that we've looked at tonight, there are also opportunities for improvement in the following areas: elementary and 6th grade reading, behavior, AP scores, and ACT. Keep in mind that these opportunities for improvement do not include areas that might need to be addressed from the APR, since we don't have that data yet. With those areas of improvement, I highlighted a few strategies from our CSIP to support those opportunities for improvement. Implementing timely research-based reading interventions at the elementary level, implementing reader-writer workshop components in 6th grade ELA classes, engaging administrators through professional development in learning and understanding restorative discipline practices, increasing sanctuary model training to involve more buildings, and providing trauma-informed training to teachers, counselors, and administrators. Adding specific intentional action steps in the high school improvement plans to address and focus on AP score increases. Exposing all students to the ACT test sooner by offering a practice ACT test to all 10th graders during the school day, and using that data to inform potential action steps for improvement. And having curriculum writing teams embed ACT-like assessment questions into the high school curriculum where appropriate. Thank you for allowing me to present end of the school year data from last year. And again, I'll be back in November. We'll present all of our APR data at that time. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. I think the most important statistic that I saw was the increase in graduation from 2012 to 2016, almost 6%. That's outstanding. So our goal is to get these kids to the graduation stage and get a diploma, and that's an outstanding increase over that period of time. I didn't realize it was 89% back in 2012. But, right, it's super. Board, do you have any questions? Mr. Summer?
Thank you, Mr. LaFata. With the timeline you presented and the information being available later, it seems, does that make your job more difficult? And if so, why the delay in releasing the information this year?
It does pose a challenge, and when we have, we'll receive our MAP data on September 6th. So that will be helpful because we'll get that data here in a few weeks, and so we'll be able to look, compare that from last year, but we won't obviously receive the APR. So some of our goals that we set in In our school improvement plan, obviously we'll make some adjustments once the APR comes in, but certainly we haven't seen our ELA and math data, so we don't know what that data is going to entail, but we'll still continue to, we have plans in place to shore up and make sure that we are providing that strong core instruction in those areas. And one thing that we did find out from DESE, they didn't specifically share why it's delayed, but my guess is because, again, of all of the change in the assessment, and so they use the call data, so there's just a lot more work that goes into, I guess, preparing those reports, which takes the time. I hope that won't be the case next year, but they did let us know that we are going to be receiving the item benchmark description reports, which we didn't receive last year. So I think that's going to would hopefully be a helpful tool that we'll be able to get some data by standard on how our students did and be able to use that to help our schools inform their work.
Okay. And with the requirement now that juniors take the ACT test, this past school year, if you refresh my memory, was that the second year that was required?
Second year was required. Francis Howell started that 1 year prior to DESE requiring it for juniors.
And that's kind of my question. Is that data available to be part of the?
We actually just received our graduate ACT file. It's embargoed until August 24th at 2 a.m. So we. Yeah. So that data that we just received on our graduates, that 2016 data, because the graduate file for ACT will include, any of the tests that the students took, whatever year they took it. So that would have the juniors when they took it in 2015. But this is the first time that we've actually received the same kind of report that we receive on the graduate ACT in that same format for all of the juniors from ACT.
So the dates are on here. Are those the dates the test was taken, or is that the class year?
Those are the
slide 8, if that helps you.
Yes, thank you. That would have been the year that it was taken. So the test was taken in the spring. So 2015 would have been the test that was taken in April of 2015, and then April of 2016. So the 2016 was the kids that are now seniors this year.
Got it. Okay. And one last question. Since we did have one of our alternative high schools here this evening with a presentation, we talked about the new standard that DESE has on graduation, now using the 4-year standard. Are we still tracking our 5-year graduation rate?
It is part of the APR. So when we get the APR document, it will include the 4-year, the 5-year, the 6-year, and the 7-year. It has all of them, and districts earn points, all 30, hope we would want to earn all 30 points, but you earn your points on whichever is your best year. So certainly I can provide that data as well in when we get our APR. And so that students who don't finish in 4 years, they finish in 5, and we would still, they would be counted in that 5-year graduation rate. Certainly the goal is we want students to achieve that next milestone in life of graduating, and if it takes 5 years, then the end goal is to graduate.
All right.
But certainly we would want to see that our 4-year rate grow, but we can also include the 5-year rate as well.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. I thought you were going to give us Ferg Florson's numbers too there for a minute.
I apologize. I caught myself. I didn't want it to be one of those Southwest Airlines one getaway commercials, but after being in one district for a long time, that's just the two names. So I apologize. I caught myself before I said it, though.
I didn't catch myself one time. I answered the phone one time. This is Mark with Heartland Bank, and I'm at Jefferson Bank now. So, guy says, "Did I call the wrong bank?" No. So, great job, board. Any other questions? None? Okay, thank you. Now we're at purchase over 7,500. Board will entertain a motion to approve purchase over 7,500 as presented.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Cope, second by Mr. Summer. Any discussion, board? Hearing none, by roll call.
Mr. Hain?
Aye.
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 Motion carries 6-0. Board will entertain a motion to approve the July 2016 financial statements as presented.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Hain, second by Mr. Summer. Is Is there any discussion, board? Hearing none, by roll call.
Mr. Lavada?
Aye.
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 Motion carries 6-0. Board also entertain a motion to approve the annual secretary board report as presented.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Summers, second by Mr. Hain. Any discussion, board? Hearing none, by roll call.
Mr. Summer?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 6-0. Item number 12D, insurance. Mr. Supple.
Thank you, Mr. LaFata. The board had an opportunity to see the report. I think the couple takeaways that I would share with the board tonight are just that we do see some variability quarter to quarter. And if you would, as I was preparing the report, of course, I looked at last quarter compared to this quarter, and there was a lot more increases or a lot more green letters in the previous quarter's report, a little more red in this quarter's report. But we continue to monitor that program, and hopefully later this evening we'll have a conversation about some other things that we can do to improve our practices. I do also just provide a couple highlights of things that are just happening in the news, and we try to keep our eye on what's going on, and so that we can best keep ourselves informed as how these changes in the industry might be impacting us, and hopefully we will begin to see the introduction to more biosimilars, which should help to bring down the cost of some of our specialty medications. And as you read in the report, specialty medications are a big cost driver in our prescription drug program.
Thank you, Mr. Supple. Ready for work session? Are we going to go down here? Okay. All right. We'll start back in about 5 minutes. I did too. That's why we left the microphone, right? Never. It's just my personal preference. I'm just not a fan.
I know you're not.
I don't have anything to sleep on ever. You know how much tea I drink? I probably drink a gallon of tea a day, which is not good.
I assume they do. It's not like out today.
They're going to waste over here.
No, it is. Is this on?
Hey, Vicki, you turn
Is this recording? We're good? All right.
All right.
We're good. You said use that one, though. Okay. All right. Next item is the work session on the tax rate. Mr. Supple.
Thanks, Mr. LaFata. I provided handouts to the board, but the same documents are also posted to board docs. I did want to let the board know that we posted the items last week, and then just after that, the assessor completed the after board of equalization. And so the documents that you have in front of you and the ones that are posted to board docs now contain the after board of equalization numbers. So Vicki, if we could pull up the tax rate work session PowerPoint, please. So we want to first talk just about what happens with assessed valuation. Of course, it's always a constantly changing number as properties are bought and sold and new construction comes on and so forth. So just the big takeaways here that when we did the projected tax liability notice in April, that was based on the numbers that we got from the assessor in March. So you can see that we saw overall about a 1.42% growth in our assessed valuation from the December 31 numbers to March 1st. And then every year we get numbers as of July 1st, and between March and July, those numbers change where we saw, again, just a small amount of growth, about 0.5% in terms of growth. And then the final column there is 9/1, and so those are our after board of equalization numbers. And so from July to after board, you can see that they declined just a little bit, but from April until after board, you can see there was just a very small increase, 0.2% increase in the assessed valuation. So those are the numbers, the after board of equalization numbers that we will use when we actually set our tax rate. So next slide, please. This is just the state auditor calculation showing that as we input those numbers into the model, that our operating levy will be $3.34.72, and that's just as we'll see on the next slide, just a slight decrease from where we are currently. So with the when we did the projected tax, what am I doing? Isn't this so when we take a look at our current rate is $4.34, 34.90, and based on the after board of equalization, we think that's going to have a very, 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 very slight change of $4.34.72. And of course, this is a non-reassessment year, so the only changes in our assessed value are really driven by new construction and its impact on our overall rate. So essentially a very stable picture. Our current total rate, including our debt levy, is $5.02.03, and based on the numbers that we have now, the recommendation that we'll be bringing forward to the next meeting would be $5.0185. So a very, very slight change in the overall tax rate. Be happy to answer any questions the board might have.
Any questions? Next item is the worksite clinics. Mr. Supple.
Yes. So I wanted to take a few minutes this evening just to introduce the board to the concept of worksite clinics. It's something that our insurance committee has been talking about for some time. So I imagine that there will be a lot of questions that we will be working through in the coming months with the insurance committee. We don't certainly intend, the goal tonight is not to answer all of the questions, but more to provide the board an overview of what it is that we're talking about and to get some buy-in for conducting a feasibility study. So we really want to, as I said, explain the purpose and roles of a clinic and why we would want to move in that, and then consider what the cost benefit to the school district might be, and then to take a look at a very high level of what some of the management or service models might be. So overall, there are some really positive attributes to having clinics that are dedicated specifically to serving your population. Mostly, we get greater employee engagement, and so we know from the participation in our consumer-driven plan that those employees, those plan members who are more actively engaged in their own health care end up having better health outcomes, which is good for them. It's also good for the plan. The clinics also give you an opportunity to integrate wellness programs, and specifically wellness programs that we know work for our particular population. We want to be able to improve the quality of care and the coordination of care, two very important factors. And so oftentimes the models that have been developed now for service delivery are physicians who are members of a large practice, often owned by a hospital, and they actually have metrics that they're gauged by, and sometimes paid by, in terms of how long they can spend with a patient. And it's a very short period of time, and if you've been to the doctor recently, you may have had some personal experience with that. We're looking at a model that might give us an opportunity to provide a better relationship between doctor-patient, spend the time necessary to understand holistically what is happening with that patient, so rather than just treating the specific symptom that might have brought someone to the clinic that day, to ask some probing questions that might help them understand what might be some underlying causes, and to take a look at the patient from a holistic perspective. There is some opportunity to make it more attractive in terms of access, both in terms of distance and time, to coordinate the hours and the location with our working schedules, and that might help to reduce the amount of absences that teachers experience or staff members experience just in order to attend to their medical needs. We do hope it will provide overall lowering of our health costs. We have done a tremendous amount with the tools currently available to us to manage our health care on a go-forward basis, but you can't always predict the unusual things that happen, so you have to manage those ongoing kind of routine things as best you can. This is the next tool, I think, that will allow us to do that. And then there are some very positive things for employees, just the idea that you'll be able to get in to see a physician when you need to, that physician really understands you and your needs and where you work and how that impacts your life. And there is an opportunity also to use this as a retention model that we could actually be seen as an additional benefit. So not just that we have medical insurance for our employees, but the model in which we deliver at least a portion of that, it would be an attractive recruiting tool. And then finally, we might be able to use it to even manage worksite injuries, although that's not necessarily a portion of what we would do that would be developed as we move forward. So worksite clinics are gaining in popularity. They've been around for a number of years, something that hasn't been talked about in the mainstream press a great deal, but particularly in the union industries, it's been a model for a very long time that you would have a specific clinic or set of clinics dedicated to your employee population. but 4% of employers are looking at implementing clinics in the next year, and another 12% evaluating them for 2017, on top of the 30% that already offer them. So we are beginning to see this being adopted more and more frequently as an opportunity to change the way that healthcare is delivered. We are looking for that high value, but we also want to make sure that our employees are engaged and involved in their own care, and we think this is a great way for them to do that. And we also believe that by offering more convenient opportunities to participate in the healthcare services, people may be more diligent about managing, especially their chronic conditions, which helps to keep them healthy, which keeps the teachers in front of our students, the custodians in cleaning up our classrooms, the maintenance guys doing their work, all of whom have been trained specifically for our jobs, which is an important goal for us to keep those regular employees doing their regular jobs as often as possible. A great deal of savings potentially available. So this is just a study from Quick Trip. Quick Trip has implemented this model for a number of years now. They actually have a clinic in the St. Peter's area. But you can see that the slide on the left just shows the cost for an average visit to a physician. And so at retail, or what a plan might typically pay, about $185, and through their clinic model, about $126, so saving almost $60 per visit. And when you think about Francis Howell, 4,000 lives, a little over 4,000 lives covered, opportunity to save $60 every time somebody visits the physician could add up to some pretty significant savings. And so this, then on the right side, just showing from the QT data that they save about $88,000 a month, or about a little over $1 million in a year. So there are some potentials for some fairly significant savings as a result of changing to a clinic delivery system. And then this is another example just from the Nashville Public Schools. They generated savings of $2.8 million. And I think this was very important for us to think about too, that they actually had a study that was conducted that showed that there was a correlation between teacher wellness ratings, so how they felt about their own health and being in front of kids, and the scores of their students. And so as teachers are healthier, we actually see an improvement in scores because we have the individuals who've retrained in the manner that and the subject areas that are important to us in front of our kids more often. And so it's a win-win for everybody. Some things to think about when we're wanting to implement a clinic model. What's the population that you're going to serve? It can be employees only. It can be employees and their dependents. We could include retirees. There might be some other combinations. Those are things that the insurance committee would need to grapple with. Again, how you staff the clinic is an important determinant. Will you have a physician or will it be a nurse practitioner? Both of those models are used quite frequently. And then what other medical personnel might be available or necessary to run that operation. What are the hours going to be? Again, I think that one of the opportunities for school districts is to create a clinic model that has hours specifically convenient for our staff. So you might imagine a couple days a week the clinic would open at 6 a.m. so a teacher could get in with her or her child before they have to report to school. And so the teacher doesn't miss school and the kid doesn't miss school, and they're still able to attend to their health needs. Or conversely, to have some days of the week when those clinic hours might run late, so that families, after they've taken care of soccer practice and some other things, might still be able to get in to see a physician. Think about the facility design, how large is it going to be, which of course is going to depend upon what services you intend to offer. How are you going to get access to that? Do you have sufficient parking? All those things. And then the plan design, how will we deal with that? Many of our members participate in the consumer-driven plan, and there are some stipulations within the law about what we have to do relative to the consumer-driven plan in terms of ascribing a cost to those services so that they can make their first dollar payments for those services. And then again, the scope of services that would be delivered, is it just preventive care? Would we take a look at doing some, would we have pharmacy available? Would we do occupational work? Those are all things that we would need to talk about on a go-forward basis. So again, this just lays out in a table the types of services that might be covered at a clinic. Certainly those acute things are what we would probably be focusing on initially, as well as a host of the preventive services. And then we'd have to have a conversation about what, if any, of the additional services make sense for us. There's a whole, as we get into the models, we would determine whether or not having the ability to dispense certain pharmaceuticals from the clinic certainly makes it more convenient for people, but there are some attendant complexities that go with that. So we'd have to have conversations about what that looks like. There are several different types of models. We could actually have a clinic that's located on site, and of course with Francis Howell we have 23 school buildings, so we aren't talking about having a clinic at every site, but we would try to locate it centrally. And that would be determined upon whether one of the things the feasibility study would do would be to take a look at, is the location best, would it be best to locate it close to where people work or close to where the majority of your people live? And so it could be near site or on site, but wouldn't necessarily be within one of our buildings. So then there's that whole concept of near site, where it would be close to Francis Howell, but not necessarily in one of our buildings. And then finally, a shared model, which is something that we're a little bit interested in, particularly because I mentioned QT has a clinic in the St. Charles, St. Peter's area, and they made a presentation recently to the Business Health Coalition, and they actually indicated that they're looking for a partner to share their clinic because they have this fantastic space, but they, maybe have some capacity to engage people other than their QT employees in that service delivery model. So it might be attractive for us. It might be a win-win situation. We don't know yet enough about our utilization pattern, how many people, and whether it would work, but it's certainly something that we could explore. Also, there might be an opportunity to partner with another school district who, we might find out that Parkway's indicated an interest, and maybe a number of their employees actually live in Francis Howell. So we might partner with Francis Howell and have with Parkway and have a shared model where we would have a larger clinic with maybe a greater number of hours, because we're going to be able to service both Parkway and Francis Howell plan members at that same site. So all those things I think we would need to do some determination. Things that are important, really communicating out what we're trying to do, making sure it's compatible with our culture. Again, that's one of the main focus areas of the feasibility study. It needs to be convenient. We do need to have people at the leadership level who are very supportive of that. I will tell you, I've gotten very excited about it. I know members of our insurance committee are very excited about this model. So from that perspective, I think we already have that in place. We want to make sure we're able to attract good clinicians to deliver the service. That's a very important factor. We want to make sure that the plan is designed in such a way that people are incentivized to make use of the clinic because of the cost savings and the better care that's delivered as a result of that. And then finally, how would we manage it? In-house, probably not a good option for us, just because we're already a very leanly staffed organization. It'd be difficult to find expertise within our organization now capable of being responsible for all of the management pieces associated with the clinic. But we might take a look at a hybrid or a completely outsourced model that would allow us to have a great deal of participation in the management of that clinic, but not be responsible for the day-to-day operations, making sure that supplies are ordered and people are getting paid, and et cetera, et cetera. So again, something that the insurance committee will work through as we move forward with our work. These are just some very simple pictures. just to give you an idea, we really are talking pretty much what you think about when you go to the doctor's office, a small room where blood work can be done. The exam rooms don't have to be very fancy. I think we're all familiar with, an examination table, a blood pressure device there and so forth. And again, different looks of what those different perspectives, what those rooms would be. Not a lot of square footage. We're talking, 600 to 1,000 square feet probably. Not a tremendous amount of square footage devoted to this model. And then I just want to close by sharing some information about the Business Health Coalition. We are members of the Business Health Coalition. There are about 40 businesses across the area who participate in the Business Health Coalition. That's Anheuser-Busch and Boeing and Monsanto and Francis Howell and Ferguson Florissant and Parkway are members as school districts, and Panera Bread and all kinds of companies in between. We do our pharmacy benefit manager purchasing through the Business Health Coalition, and we have driven significant cost savings as a result of the group purchasing power where the pharmacy benefit managers are able to aggregate all of the spend from those 39 companies and to create a pricing model which gives us greater buying power than we would have on our own. So similarly here, we've asked because there's been a tremendous interest at the Business Health Coalition, we've asked them to create a request for proposal where companies would give us data about what they would do to do a feasibility study, and we are hoping that the combined purchasing power will help to drive down the cost of that feasibility study. And then through the implementation process, they would help us not only select the company that might do the feasibility study, but work through us in evaluating the results after we complete that, and help us with the implementation as we move forward, and being able to leverage not only the knowledge of companies within the Business Health Coalition who are already working with a clinic model in their various companies, or by connecting with other similar consortia across the country and their knowledge base, and being able to tap into that so that we don't have to repeat mistakes that other people have already, problems people have already solved. So I do think that my purpose tonight, again, is to introduce the topic, not to solve the issue tonight, but I will be bringing back in the near future a recommendation to participate in a feasibility study. And really what that would do would be to take a look at our population and determine via interviews, whether those be conducted electronically or in a focus group setting, the level to which we think our plan members would participate in a clinic. And then also to take a look by geo-mapping where our people are located to determine whether it would be best to base it where they work or where they live, so that we make the appropriate determination, because convenience is an important factor. St. Charles, the school district of the city of St. Charles just went through this process last year. They opened their on-site clinic January of this year. Of course, they've had a fairly short time period in which to gather data, but they're very helpful with the overall outcome. I did ask my counterpart there, what are your ideas or what are your thoughts about a feasibility study? And his response was that it was absolutely critical in their moving forward, that while they had interest and they felt it would be a good idea, the feasibility study helped them make the best decisions about not only what type of model to have, but where to locate the clinic. And so we will be, I have already indicated to the Business Health Coalition that we are an interested party, and once the request for proposal has been sent out and evaluated, I'll be bringing back a recommendation to the board to participate in a feasibility study, so that hopefully we can begin the conversations with the insurance committee in January with some real data about what our plan member group would be interested in doing, and we can use the ensuing months to begin to develop a model that might work best for us, and that with fingers crossed and all things going well, we might be able to see the implementation in October of 2017.
scary things like, wow, we're going to be self-insured. But it makes sense from a financial standpoint to be self-insured. And I never thought we'd be ever having this conversation that we'd be thinking about opening our own clinic. Now, I guess my initial thoughts are it's a great idea. Sounds great. But if I remember right, it was very hard to get members interested in the consumer-driven plan because it was something new, and so it took a while. I guess my concern would be how to best utilize our data with the feasibility study, but also get over the negative connotation of a clinic. I think that people might think that that's not a doctor's office. It's it's not going to be helpful to me. But it sounds like a great idea. I think you've got I think it's certainly can be a cost saving, but that'll be proof in the feasibility study. I'm sure that cost is going to be the main driver in making sure this works.
Right.
Because obviously, we don't want to get caught up in additional cost when you can't get usage, because usage is going to be the key to driving the bus. So
Exactly.
Good initial presentation, and I think it's definitely has merit, and certainly is a great service to our employees, and being able to provide that type of service on one of our campuses potentially.
Potentially.
My concern, one of my other concerns, is the liability associated with that. Would we assume some of the liability in diagnose things like that, issuing drugs?
As I understand it, Mr. LaFata, just as now your physician carries malpractice insurance, we wouldn't assume any greater liability than what we already assume as a plan sponsor. So this is just another model in which we're delivering, but it's actually the liability for diagnoses and so forth clearly remains with the physician or physician's assistant, and they carry their own liability insurance for those things, just as any physician you see today.
As long as there's no extension to the school district.
Right. I understand that there's no more liability than what we have as a plan sponsor.
So just a couple of thoughts. So there are a lot of organizations considering this type of opportunity. So I'm glad we're taking a look at it as well. We talk about being leaders in education. I hope we're also leaders in taking care of our employees. So excited that we're going to take a look at it. Some of the things that come to mind for me, though, is to make sure that we're clear on our scope, that we're meeting the needs of our employees. So is it going to be required or not? So if we set this up and then we tell them it's optional, what does that optional look like, and how does that affect the usage? So is it required or not? And determining whether the dependents are covered. We're going to ask our employees to come here, but your dependents have to go somewhere else. And I'm sure the insurance group is going to look at this very well. One thing that wasn't talked about that may be added is the integration of the wellness programs. Would they play a role in our wellness opportunities? Let's see. And if there's an opportunity within the scope to provide community support and potential revenue. So right now we bring different organizations in to conduct physicals for sports activities at some of the high schools, or immunizations. So not that the clinic would be open all the time to the community, but would that be an opportunity to support our community and provide a revenue stream? And then lastly, just, two things. If you consider a partnership, seriously consider like personnel. So when I think of Quick Trip, I think of a lot of 16, 18-year-old high turnover. That might be a different demographic than what our employees community looks like. So if we look at a partnership, maybe someone with like needs, like you mentioned, a school district as one opportunity, or any other tax-based entity that has a similar population, because we want to make sure that the availability is there for our employees. And then as part of the plan, if you'll consider consider getting feedback from the employees. So it goes back to the perception issue. Can we get their buy-in ahead of time? What are their concerns? Can we address their concerns ahead of time and involve them in the decision making?
And I'm going to start at the bottom, work my way
Sure.
back. So that's exactly what the feasibility study is designed to do. You don't want to launch this program if people don't feel that it's the right model for them. So we hope to find that out. I do think that a different way of looking at the partnership is if we have employees who are pretty much unavailable from 8 to 4, I mean, but 8 to 4, you might want to partner with somebody whose employees are very busy from 8, where they can go between 8 and 4, so that you set up the model so that the physician might be available for a long, 10 hours during the day, and we get the two ends of that, and the other group, their employees come in the middle. So different way to look at, the partnership as there well too. One of the things that, both for the wellness and the sports physicals, as the presenters at a recent workshop shared with us, be sure that you try to walk before you run. So those are great things to do and probably have some tremendous advantage, but it may not be that we would integrate wellness right away or look at doing some extension to the community, especially in terms of sport physicals, until we really get the clinic model operating smoothly for ourselves. So try not to take on too much too soon. It will end up being a more successful outcome based on what people have said before. And then I don't think that the intention would be to require this at all. It's just another opportunity, but the cost structure would be such that people are incentivized to take part in it. So as a member of a consumer-driven plan, you have to pay for those visits, but we would ascribe a price to it that's probably much lower than what employees currently see if they go to a physician. So no requirement that you go, but the financial incentive is I can see a physician, it's convenient for me, and I'm spending less of my health savings account than if I went to a regular physician. So not required, but incentivized.
Thank you.
So I guess it's a break-even type of model.
We actually hope that we will save money as a result. But again, I think the feasibility study will tell us whether that's possible and to the degree to which that's possible.
So when we do the feasibility study done, just so I understand the process a little better, is the recommendation then going to be coming from the administration? Is that something that the insurance committee is going to look at and bring forward the recommendation to the board?
The insurance committee would take a look at the feasibility study, and we will have an understanding then of what it looks like from a data perspective. And then I think we would need to have some conversations internally as to, they recommended that we have a hybrid management model, but we actually think completely outsourced would be better for us for whatever set of reasons. So we'll take a look at that data, spend some time discussing the various aspects, and then would make a recommendation that would be supported by the insurance committee, but certainly would be the recommendation of administration to move forward.
Okay. And I'm glad you guys are looking at partnerships. I know I had conversations with the City of St. Charles School District earlier as they were getting their model started, and I think that's another great opportunity for us to partnership, just like you mentioned with Parkway also. So great chances for us.
Yeah, I guess a couple of things. Number one is, looking at anything that's going to save us cost or have a potential to save us cost is worth looking into. I guess one of the things that I would question, or I'm sure that this has been looked into, or you may be able to explain it more, is, we do a great job of educating kids. As of this point in time, like if you get sick, you go to Mercy or BJC or one of the other health organizations in the area, and they do a good job of treating, treating patients,
right,
diagnosing and treating illnesses. Instead of moving that into there, have we talked to them about, they all have these urgent care centers and they have different things, just contracting with one of them to, like have extended hours or allocate 2 slots per hour for us or some different things like that, so that we could still provide that type of thing, but we're not reinventing a wheel and creating something that's already in existence in our community.
Yes, I think the hospital organizations, and particularly Mercy, is one that is very interested in attracting on-site, near-site clinic business. In fact, Mercy was a bidder for St. Charles. Now, they ended up doing something different than that, but Mercy bid on their business. So I would expect that we will see hospital organizations who want to get into it. The other piece of that is that there are a number of physicians who have come to learn that the current delivery model within the large physician practices owned by hospitals is causing them to be the type of physician that is not delivering job satisfaction. And so there are a lot of physicians who are interested in breaking away from hospitals so that they can really begin to spend time with patients and get to know their patients and treat the whole person, not just a symptom. So I do think that I think both are available. We'll probably see models that are presented where we have a management company who hires a physician, and that will be one model that we will see. We'll also see the big hospital organizations like Mercy who will be able to offer some solution. But they clearly are in that business and looking to expand their footprint in that area.
Okay, and then one other question, and don't take this wrong, but like if we want to add a new curriculum or add a new course or add something that seems like it takes 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years, is this operating at like light speed that we would be from conception to implementation in 18 months or less?
Well, I guess I would say it this way. Yes, it's probably a pretty aggressive timeline. But the possibility, I think because the structures have already been created and replicated by other organizations, we're following a pattern, and we're not the first ones to do a worksite clinic. And so I think we would be able to model that so that it's more a decision about will it fit with our culture? Are the cost savings sufficient to warrant moving forward? What type of model would work best for us? And probably the most difficult part would be going through the RFP process to actually decide which organization presents us the best model. But there are companies that are in the business of doing this, and St. Charles had a fairly aggressive timeline, and we're pretty successful in moving forward. So I would agree, Mr. Hain. I think it's a very aggressive timeline. The advantage would be that if you make it coincident with the beginning of your plan year, I think there may be some advantages for people in terms of their co-pays and so forth. But it doesn't have to be, and if we have to take more time to do it right, we will take more time to make sure we do it right.
Thank you.
Now, don't take this negative.
Sure.
Okay. I understand this is come out of the insurance committee, but I remember just having a conversation about possibly operating our own buses, and your comment to me was, don't take this negative at all, was we're in the school business, we educate students, and to me this is far-reaching in a way that we would be managing a clinic, delivering health care. So, I see that there's probably opportunity savings, but I think we really need to take a look at all opportunities at potential savings. But you have to keep in mind our organization is getting smaller, and I know that you're thinking of this would be something that would be outsourced, but it's hard to control the costs when you're dealing with a third-party vendor. That's what we'll be dealing with. Is are we negotiating their salaries? Are we? There's a lot of intricacies to making that work financially for the school district. I understand there's potential savings, but there's also other areas that we could look at potential savings too. So I don't want to be, I don't want to be a person that's against change, but I also want to stay within the confines of what we can handle as a school district with the staff that we have. So just throwing that out there. Nothing negative about it, just.
Sure, understood.
So, anybody else have anything on that item? Communications, Mr. Dyke.
At last month's meeting, the board voted to put Proposition Howell on the November ballot. And before the end of the evening, actually within minutes of the vote, the communications department began the important job of sharing the information about Proposition Howell. In the documents that you have in front of you, you have the first one is the Proposition Howell Information Action Plan. The idea is to go item by item, the things that we're doing to share this information, and not only a date, but then an idea of the medium, some responsibility, so we know who's tackling the project, a target audience, which of course is always very important in any communication effort, and a status column as well. This document, as well as the calendar, are both living, breathing documents and are being edited and added to on a regular basis. This is intended, this document is intended as more of sort of a short-term, week and a half out to-do list document, where the idea of the calendar is a more comprehensive look at the efforts of the entire campaign leading up until Election Day. We've created a variety of informational materials already. Obviously, we've shared the information out on the website, voter registration information, absentee voting, ballot language, the press release, talking points, the informational flyer, which is you'll see in every building now. It's sort of the go-to one-piece informational source, an FAQ, a budget reductions list, because of course one of the questions we get asked the most is what's changed in the past year? What's different since August of 15? And of course, one of the things are the amazing amount of reductions and cuts that we've made in the past year. We have a tax calculator on the website, so people can go in and plug in the value of their home and find out exactly what Proposition Howell would cost them per month. And then we've also put out some information on the website about the Proposition Howell informational meetings that are coming up. One of the most recent documents we completed, actually I just posted today after 4 rounds of edits, is how Francis Howell School District would use the revenue from Proposition Howell. This is one of the things we heard from both some of our internal and external stakeholders, that saying increasing technology or restoring staffing cuts was not enough information. They wanted the information on a more granular level. So with both the full cabinet and the executive cabinet, we worked on articulating exactly what all of those things that we would add back would be. And it's not in this packet. It's on the website if you want to look at the website, because we just finished the final round of edits with that document today. The information video is currently in post-production. We're working on that. It took us a little longer because we wanted to find a student to voice that, because of course the ultimate benefactors of Proposition Howell will be our students, so we thought it was appropriate if a student would voice that video. We are in the process of working on an informational PowerPoint for our informational meetings. Not only is information available on our outward-facing district website, but we also have information for our employees on the intranet, on HowlNet. Oftentimes in campaigns, your internal audience, your staff members, are the ones that get forgotten, and they are an important source for us to share information, because in the community, your friends or neighbors, it's often, oh, I know so-and-so, he does blank for the district, and fill in the job title. So we want to make sure that our employees have all the information available to share as well in the community, because the most important conversations we know are the ones that happen across the fence in the backyard, that happen at the soccer game, in the grocery store, and at church. The information is also on every building website. We have an electronic version of the informational flyer available on Peach Jar, so on every building's Peach Jar site. We have received some media attention already. It appeared in both the Post-Dispatch and Mid-Rivers News Magazine, and Dr. Hendricks-Harris had a chance to talk about Proposition Howell with Channel 5 the first day of school. They were also kind enough to publicize the list of cuts that the district had made that I had shared with them. And she was interviewed by Channel 4 this week and will appear on the Monday version of News 4 Schools. So that's at the end of the 5 p.m. newscast on Channel 4. Info was shared with our parents in a special e-news that we sent out immediately after the board action, and it will be included in our monthly district e-news that goes out to all of our parents and those who sign up for that. The hard copy flyer is available in every district building, and we'll be working hard to share it at all building level events where parents and community members come into schools. We know as much as we live and breathe Proposition Howell, we know that a majority of our parents get their information at the building level and not necessarily the district level. So we want to make sure that those buildings are well equipped to share that information with our stakeholders. For example, last week we had volunteers handing out the informational flyers at the fall festivals, the jamborees that were going on. So we're taking advantage of those opportunities to meet with our parents as well. We have a principals meeting tomorrow. I'm working on a building information level plan. It's asking the principals to share it is not enough, so we're going to give them a schedule of what they should share and when they should share it. And we will have regular info in the building e-news. Some buildings send it out daily, some buildings send it out weekly, as well as the building newsletters. Most go out about once a month. We're of course sharing on social media. Jen is working on coming up with a strategic schedule, and we're working on not only the talking points, but sort of synthesizing them into some bite-sized pieces. We're doing a Francis Howell Figures on Fridays, which, while it might not necessarily say Proposition Howell in it, it will contain information about things like class sizes or cuts, things that sort of impact Proposition Howell in a variety of ways. We're sharing again with our internal audiences, our employees weekly in the SAW, Hotwire, and the Admin Advisor. Again, our staff are sometimes unfortunately overlooked in these efforts. The other thing we've shared internally on HowellNet is the MSBA guidelines on campaigning and what employees should or shouldn't do and what's considered informational as opposed to advocacy efforts. I already had the chance this week to present the info to our early childhood parents as teachers folks. That's a great place. They get into, with those home visits, they visit the parents that are going to be impacted by our district for the next 10, 15, sometimes 20 years. So they're sharing those informational flyers in their home visits. And actually, Jen Henry was at early childhood yesterday, not only with the twins, but in order to conveniently pass out some flyers there as well. We'll be meeting with PTO representatives and sharing information next week. We'll also be offering, in a perfect world, the PTO presidents would feel empowered and have enough information then to go share their information with their own PTOs, because we know effective communications comes from people we know and not necessarily strangers. If the PTO is not comfortable sharing that information, the president, then we will of course volunteer to go to the building level and share that then. We have scheduled 3 informational meetings. This will be, in terms of numbers, our largest chance to talk face-to-face with our stakeholders. We'll have 1 at each high school over the next 3 months, and we will be sending out information on that into the community in a variety of ways. We're excited about that and the opportunity not only to present them with some more detailed information, but I'm sure to field some interesting questions as well. We also have an informational breakfast for our senior pals next month. We know that's a very important constituency group. That's a demographic that doesn't always have a lot of contact with our schools, but certainly always votes. We'll be working with Jeremy to share the informational flyers with both Sodexo and First Student employees, because we know while technically not district employees, that a lot of them obviously are invested in the district, and many of them are residents as well. We'll be working on posters for the building. We also currently plan on 2 informational mailers to go out in October. One would go specifically to our parents, and then another one will go to all registered voters in the district. The other thing that we started last year, before I got here, we know that for years many school districts sent out a hard copy newsletter to their communities for a variety of reasons, not the least of which was improving technology, but also cost. Many districts, including Francis Howell, got away from the hard copy newsletter for a while because the technology for HTML email was fabulous, and you could make these great looking email flyers with pictures and graphics, but the problem is a lot of your community didn't get to see them. So a lot of districts, including Francis Howell, have gone back to a hard copy delivery model. We began it last year, and we'll be doing it again this year. So we just put to bed at 5 p.m. tonight our first community newsletter of the year that will go to everybody that subscribes to the Post-Dispatch. You'll get it in your as a Post-Dispatch insert, or in the I forget the name, but the coupon, whatever the big book of coupons is that comes in your mailbox. So everybody will be receiving that on Monday, August 26th, I believe is the date, that not only contains information, a welcome letter from the new superintendent, but also information about Proposition Howell, some of the great things we're doing in the district as far as community ed, some of the programs we offered over the summer. We always want to remind our patrons that educating kids is a year-round occupation, and we don't take summers off. Information about Parent University coming in September, the new safety vestibules at 2 of our high schools, and some other information as well. So that will go out. We put that to bed today, and that will show up in mailboxes on August 26th. And then, of course, we're always working to identify, because I certainly don't claim to know it all, we're always working to identify new opportunities to share that information out with our stakeholders as well.
I just want to thank the communications department already. They have been working night and day to get the informational campaign off the ground, and we have been keeping them very busy. One of the things that I've noticed as a bystander is that everybody has a lot of great ideas, and some of them even contradict each other. So they have been doing a fine job of fielding suggestions and implementing feedback as best they can moving forward. And you can walk back there when I get here in the morning as well as when I leave, and they have all been very diligently working on the informational campaign, and I know that won't stop between now and November, so kudos to them for all their work.
All right, kudos. You can't score runs in baseball unless you cover the bases, and it looks like you covered the bases, so great work. Impressed with your work. Very organized, and I can tell you, after we voted and I saw the press release that night, you were prepared. And, thank you for your diligence. I know you're going to be really busy over the next couple of months. Also, learning new staff. Matt, you're doing a great job as well. So appreciate that.
Thank you. It's been a team effort. I couldn't do it without Jen and Joe and Vicki.
Any comments, board? Think of anything else that they needed to do? Next item is superintendent comments.
Yes, I just have a few things I'd like to share. We did have a great start to the school year. Our kickoff was well received
and a great way for our staff to come together and celebrate the beginning of the year. I wanted to thank all of you for taking time from your regular daily commitments to attend. I know that that is quite the sacrifice. The facilities on day one were in great shape. Our staff was prepared. Student transportation and Sodexo services went smoothly. Transition days prior to that first day at 6th and 9th grade were very well planned. I was able to make it out to Friends Howell Middle, and they certainly helped to ease the anxiety of our students on that first day. I want to thank everyone that was involved in making sure that that first day and first week was a positive experience for our students. Tonight is Mr. Sloan's last board meeting. I want to, oh no! He'll catch it on the recording because I'm going to say it anyway. I want to thank him for agreeing to stay on to help us get the school year started, especially in the areas of food service and transportation. It's very critical in the first week that those things go smoothly. Francis Howell appreciates all he's done over the years to increase efficiencies in his department, to improve services in his areas of supervision. In addition to daily operations, Mike accomplished many things in his years of service. In addition to finding increased efficiencies and streamlining processes, its intentional work has resulted in a decrease in bus discipline instances and an increase in the safety of our bus fleet. Those are two very important accomplishments that will remain in place even as Mike leaves us. We will of course miss having him around. His smiling face and sense of humor add to joy in our workplace. Speaking of the bus fleet, the State Highway Patrol, based on our annual bus inspections, has awarded our bus fleet the Total Fleet Excellent Award, indicating overall excellence in maintenance and reliability. We also learned in the last few days that all of our high schools have earned the Misha Leadership's School Award. This award recognizes schools that have a high standard in developing sportsmanship, character, and citizens among its student athletes. So we want to congratulate our schools on those things. That's all my comments for tonight.
Thank you, Mary. Okay, next item is board request. Any board member have any additional requests? Information, items on any of the September 1st or September 15th meetings? Any changes? 0? Check that off the list. That means we can adjourn. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't know you had, I thought you were still on board requests. I do have
went from board request to September 1st, then September
Okay.
15th. You missed it. Next.
I do have an addition for September 15th. I'd like to have a conversation with the board about the possibility of extending for 1 year our contract with First Student. I know that the transportation services have been a subject of conversation with the board, and we need to make a decision maybe a little bit sooner than November the 8th about what is going to happen with our transportation for school year 17-18. A great deal of lead time if we were going to do something different than what we're currently doing, and if we're going to make some minor or major adjustments in the service delivery model. It would be great to be working with the same partner that we've been working with for a while, rather than to bid out the bus services at the same time we're expanding or contracting what we're doing. So I'll bring some information to the board. I've received a proposal from First Student, and we can have a conversation about how we might move forward.
Probably a good time to have that discussion anyway. Any other items? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Cope, second by Mr. Summer. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hain?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Meeting adjourned.